loud because, yeah. Okay, there we go. All right. Well, this is our team huddle, weekly team huddle, and I'm super excited to have everybody on. And this is being recorded. So if you're watching this live or recording, just really excited. It is January 14th, 2018. And we're just really going to jump in tonight into the book discussion that we're going to be going through over the next, really my intention is to have this book wrapped up by GTC. So we're going to probably be working on 2, maybe sometimes 3 chapters a week. They're not difficult chapters, but they are full of lots and lots of nuggets. And I'm going to be sharing, but I also, want you guys to feel free to unmute and contribute and just share if you've got takeaways. I do think that this is going to be a call series where you're going to want to have notes or take notes, reference back, maybe write in the book. There's definitely things that I have marked that I really loved from what I got out of it so far. And so I'm trying to think if there's anything really just Arbonne specific that I need to communicate, but I don't think there is. The Bash and Nash is coming up for those of us that are more kind of in the southwest part of the US. And we're looking forward to that and what we'll be sharing after the Bash as well. But we're just going to hop in to this book. So if you don't have it yet, it's called Get Over Your Damn Self. And I do want to just tell you all ahead of time, I had not read this book fully before I recommended it. And so there is more colorful language than I personally would maybe want to endorse in a book. And so just kind of maybe want to apologize for that ahead of time because I kind of didn't realize until I was reading more through and I'm like, oh gosh, she just feels really free to use some words. So, but she is trying to obviously get a point and a message across. And so this book is really to be used like a workbook, and we're going to chat through those. So we're going to talk about the first 2 chapters. If you haven't gotten to them yet, there's still going to be good content for you tonight, so don't discredit the call and be like, well, I haven't read it yet, I'll catch up later, because there's things that we can be doing as we go through this. But I like to do books, maybe once or twice a year with the team, because as leaders are learners, leaders are readers, and so or listeners. I know a lot of times for me, I can get a lot of books. I can get through a lot of books on Audible, the app, because I can be listening while I'm doing other things. And so I actually have both of this in print and on Audible. My tip that I didn't realize on Audible till just her book is that you can speed up the reading time. So I actually listened to this book in like 1.5 times or almost 2 times because she's kind of a slow reader. And so you can get through the book even a little bit more quickly. So that's helpful. So chapter 1, she starts off with just really chunking through 3 buckets that everybody in your market is going to be put into. So the first group is your customers. And what is different about customers, what I tried to do was really, as I was reading this and preparing notes for tonight, was really to pull out things that weren't just obvious and kind of retelling of the book or being redundant, but things that maybe can strike some conversation for us. And like I said, if there's any place where you're like, man, I want to comment or I have a question, I would love for this to be interactive. So please feel free to do that. So the first bucket that you're going to be putting your market into is customers. But how you want to be looking at your customers is not just people who are going to be buying the product from you, but these are also people that are the walking, talking billboards, and they refer business to you. So think about that. Do you think about your customers as an extension of your business, or do you just think of them in terms of, gosh, I wonder when they're going to be ready to buy again. I wonder if they're going to take advantage of the BOGO. I wonder if they need to stack up on their protein. But looking at them as an extension, looking at them in some ways as kind of the marketing department or the advertising department for your business, because this is a word of mouth business, and a personal endorsement or a personal recommendation of someone who's not connected to your business in a monetary way. So like a customer who endorses fizzy sticks to their coworkers actually has more ability to influence a purchasing decision than someone on a team who is a consultant and trying to tell their coworkers about fizzies. Because the person who's just the customer recommending the fizzies has no kind of skin in the game. There's nothing returning to them, and people know that. And so they know that that recommendation is simply just an endorsement of something they like. They're not endorsing it because they're trying to promote themselves or their product. Make sure that when you are make sure that you are asking for referrals from your clients and customers. That's one thing that I have really noticed that I want to be doing a better job of. And I'm working on a couple ideas of ways to engage customers to give me more active referrals. And just, I think about if every customer, if I could glean 3 referrals from every customer that I have, how naturally that could network out my market really well. And then also continuing to help people urbanize their home, urbanize their lives. This is an area sometimes that we can forget. So go through your PCs, go through your guest profile sheets, whether you've been in business for 3 months or 3 years, and see, like I have people who buy just protein powder or protein powder and fizzies. Well, do I need to do a better job of exposing them to skincare, hair care, sun care, cosmetics? What are those things that I can be dripping with them on? Dental product, the toothpaste, the deodorant, to really help people urbanize their home. So we have a comprehensive customer instead of just a customer in one product. Because what I want is I want someone who buys in all of our categories, not just say protein, and then they get skincare from Rodan and Fields, and they get makeup from Mary Kay. I want them buying all of those products from me and from my business. And so I think that that's really important to do that. So the second bucket is our business partners. These are people that are going to come, may come on quickly. They might be exposed to the products, try a sample, come to a party. At the end of the party, they might say, hey, I think I want to do this with you. Or they also might be people that are going to take a while, but that's the second bucket of people. So in that bucket, remember, there's going to be people that are going to swirl and swirl and swirl and swirl and swirl until they kind of drop through. You keep relationship with them. You keep touch points with them. The average person really needs 5 to 6 exposures to Arbonne, to anything, before they're going to say yes at a level of commitment. So make sure that you don't lose contact with them after 2 or 3 invites. There are people that I have been consistently inviting to discover Arbonne's for well over 2 years. Or there are people who have been hosts of mine, and I just continue to keep relationship with them. It's very acquaintance level, but it's also, just keeping myself present in front of them. One thing that I did this year, and I'm trying to find one that I can show you guys an example here from my desk. Oh, are they all stuck together? We had some family pictures taken, and we sent out Christmas cards. But I wanted to just have something as a way, like a lot of consultants will send thank yous to people every month for placing an order. And I don't do that. That's something that I haven't yet implemented into my business. But what I did do, and this was really inexpensive, I just printed them at Walgreens, and I think they were having like a 60% off sale. So this was very inexpensive. I just took like a family photo. You could take a photo of yourself, photo of you with Arbonne products or whatever. And this just said, thanks. And it just says, thank you for your business this year. It means the world to us. I look forward to serving you in 2018. And it just says, Missy, your Arbonne lady. And then it has my website down here. This I want on their fridge. I want them to put this on their fridge. I want them to put this somewhere in their office so that I am kind of a constant or a little consistent reminder to them that I'm their Arbonne lady, and I can help urbanize their home, get them the products that they need. So that's just another touch point. And then the third bucket was, these were connectors. And for me, this was an area that really I had a little bit of like oh gosh, this is a bucket I kind of overlook, because these are people that actually don't want to use our products, and they're not necessarily interested in the business, but they know people. And for me, this is an area, a bucket of people personally, that I think I overlook, because to me, I've always just looked at my customers as connectors. I haven't really looked at people who aren't yet using the products or who don't use the products as potential connectors. There's a group, my sister and I, Tara, we have some great girlfriends, just kind of like a core group of girls. It's her and I and 3 others. And the other 3 sporadically use our Buds products, but not on any sort of consistent level. And so I've never really looked to them or asked them to help me connect up to other people, because it's like, well, they don't really use our Buds products. I don't know if they'd connect me up to anybody that would. But I think if I was more purposeful in asking for that, that they would, and so would other people. So think about, are there maybe 5, 10, 25 people that you can put in this connector bucket? They're not people maybe that are going to be a customer of yours or a client. They're not yet going to be a business partner, but they're more than happy to connect you up because they're an influencer, or they have a market of people, or they have family members, that are willing to do that. So those are the 3 buckets that people are going to fall into. And she gets into, I believe it's in chapter 3, about your list. And she gives some great like memory joggers for a list. She has a fun like activity if you want to look ahead after we get off the call on page 46, which I really thought was cool. She just has like all these different kind of categories, and she says write 4 names for every category. And I just thought that was a good idea, because we always can be refreshing this list. We always can be adding to it. So moving on, in chapter 1, she talks about why people fail, 4 reasons why people fail. And I thought that this was excellent, and how she had narrowed it down. The first is that they're not coachable. This business requires you to be open to learning our system and following it. So ask yourself, maybe right now or take some time later, to really ask yourself, are you coachable? We can hear a lot of things, but if we don't heed them, there's a scripture, I believe, that talks about we can be hearers only of the word and not doers, and in so actually deceive ourselves. And I believe that it's the same thing with this business. We can listen to training, we can get on conference calls, but if we're not turning the information into application, we just deceive ourselves, and we become Arbonne consultants who know a lot about what to do, but we actually aren't doing the do. We are implementing it. So think about that. How coachable are you? If you are coachable, or if you're not coachable, and she really goes to the point of saying, if you're not coachable, this business isn't for you, and you should just close the book and move on to something else. And I do agree with that, but I do believe that people can make that choice and that decision to be coachable. Make a commitment to be coachable. Coachability is crucial so that you will talk to enough people in the right amount of time. You'll do the right things, and then you'll be able to train people. This is a duplication business. This is a business where we're teaching the masses to sing the same song. Well, if you don't know the song to sing, you don't know the simple song to sing, you can't teach it. So really think about, coachability isn't just, I know what to do. Coaching is being coachable. It says, I know what to do and I'm doing it. I'm getting on the Sunday night huddle calls. I'm going to discover Arbonne's, when they're local in my area. I'm getting in front of 30 to 40 people a month. I'm following the script cards. I'm leading people through the process. I have had consultants who do the 20-minute overviews, and then they're like, well, I don't really want to ask people if, where they are on a scale of 1 to 5, because that just feels like I'm really pressuring them and that makes them uncomfortable. They can say that, but they're not being coachable. Being coachable is doing the process of following through, even if you don't necessarily understand why we do the system, or even if you don't fully agree with it, or you think that there could be a better way. My recommendation is just to follow the way because it does create success when it is implemented over time. The second reason people fail is that they don't treat it like a business. To turn your business into one that is successful and profitable, you must make it a priority and carry it with you wherever you go. Think to yourself, how often are you open for business? How often is your business a priority? Is it a top 5? Is it a top 3? Or is it a top 10? I personally believe that this business, in order to be successful, really has to be in a top 3 to 5. Okay. Maybe not always. Maybe it can fall back into a top 7 or 8. But if you are in a season of your business where you want to grow from where you are to the next level, which is where I believe everybody who gets on these team calls wants to be, it really has to be a top 5. And in order for it to be a top 5, you have to say no to other things. It does have to become a priority. It has to become part of your schedule. It has to be scheduled in. It can't just have the leftover time. It has to be sacrificed for. It just has to be treated like a business, you know. And I think one of the reasons that we can get away in some ways with not treating this like a business is because we haven't invested $50,000. We haven't even invested $5,000. You know, think about, there's a clothing company right now that's in network marketing, and to get into that business, they're investing $4,000, $5,000, or $6,000 to have inventory in their house. Well, if you had $4,000, $5,000, or $6,000 of Arbonne product sitting in your office, or sitting in your living room, or sitting in your basement, do you think that you would be more motivated to prioritize the business? I believe yes, you would. But when this business only costs us, you know, $79 or a couple $100, maybe even upwards of, you know, $600, $700 of product that we have, you know, there's not necessarily that same pressure to make it a priority. So that really has to come internally, and that comes from that why, which we're going to talk about in a minute. I also love in this place where she talks about the 80-10-10 rule. The 80-10-10 rule is, how do you divide your time? You divide your time with 80% of your time being spent on your personal calendar, your personal bookings, your personal events, your personal 20-minute overviews. And this doesn't matter if you're a consultant or you're a VP. 80% of my time is still spent on my personal central district sponsoring, launching, doing the overviews with my personal business, okay? 10% is to support my team. The other 10% is for trainings and growing, okay? But that's a really good rule of thumb. What happens as people are sponsoring people, they can quickly move into, even unknowingly, and I did this in my business in the first, probably 3 or 4 years, really to a fault, was I just moved into a manager mode, and I spent 80% of my time helping my team, you know, working with my team. And I only left 10% for my own personal business. Well, when the team wasn't filling up my calendar and I was only giving myself 10% of the time, I had a lot of dead time in my business. So that meant a lot of like no growth or slow growth or backwards movement, because I wasn't pumping that 80%. So we really, as a business owner, we're going to keep our hand at that 80%. The third reason why people fail is that they're not willing to get uncomfortable. And I remember at a GTC a few years back, I heard an MVP from Canada say, and I thought, if that's the only thing I ever get from this GTC, it will make every dollar and every time away so worth it. And she just said, success is inconvenient. Success is inconvenient. And when she said that, I was like, it was literally like in my brain, this like poof, like confetti blew out of the top of my head. And I was like, that, I've never heard that before. Success is inconvenient, because success, what we see as success is all the accolades, all the rewards, all the things that come after, all the grittiness and all the work. And being comfortable, being uncomfortable is a part of what successful people get used to experiencing. Feeling uncomfortable, you guys, in this business may or may not ever go away for you. I have been in this business 13 years, and there are still things that create uncomfortableness for me. I don't love standing at like booths and bazaars behind a table with product, trying to like talk to people and get them to fill out like a little piece of paper so I can get their name and number. Like, that's still kind of uncomfortable for me. I don't really always love calling people and saying, hey, is this a good time for you? I'd love to call about my business. I'm happy to do it. I know the value in doing it. The value of doing it pushes me past the uncomfortableness, but there's still brief moments of uncomfortableness whenever I'm reaching out, whenever I'm asking people to host at a party and letting them just sit there for a minute in silence and look at their calendar. Okay. So are you willing to get uncomfortable? Really think on this one. What are you willing to get uncomfortable about? Or what are you not? What have you maybe even just mentally kind of drawn a line in the sand and you're like, I'm not willing to go there. You know, what are you willing to sacrifice? What are you know, because there's things like our time that we need to get uncomfortable about. Time, meaning, how do you get uncomfortable about time? Well, you say no to things that you really want to say yes to, or you say no to things that other people maybe expect you should say yes to. You know, maybe there's things where you're sacrificing your TV time or family time or vacation time or sleep. Are you willing to get uncomfortable in those areas? Maybe being willing to get a little bit uncomfortable in your pride, or your so-called reputation or persona, or, I know that can be a struggle at times for people of I'm a professional, or this is my identity, or I'm a nurse and now I'm telling people I'm an Arbonne consultant, or, things like that. That might have to get a little uncomfortable for you. Maybe fun things, find money, etc. What are you willing to sacrifice? What are you willing to get uncomfortable about in order to grow this business? Because this business only works as you learn and earn through that process. So there's no like 2-day intensives. I can tell you guys, I have had multiple consultants who are like, I wish there was just like this 2-day Arbonne intensive where I could just go and learn everything I need to know, like a workshop, and then I could just go ahead and do it. And while in theory, a lot of jobs work that way, this job is a earn as you learn process. And so that in and of itself creates discomfort, because you're stepping out to do things that you're not necessarily comfortable doing. You're not maybe skilled yet to do. You maybe haven't honed this skill, and you just learn as you go. That's how this business works. Okay, so your business won't continue to grow if you don't keep putting yourself out there over and over again. Be willing to make mistakes and learn from them. If you aren't making mistakes in your business right now, you're not growing. Okay, I have made a lot of mistakes. There are things that I look back and I'm like, oh my gosh, like one that was so dumb. Like one time, I don't even have time to tell you guys all the mistakes I've made, but one time I signed up for this like bridal fair. I paid an obscene amount of money to have this table at this bridal expo at some place here in Kentucky. And I just stood there for 2 days as like swarms of people had no interest in anything that I had other than what was free and could they take off my table. Like, do you have catalogs? Do you have pens? Do you have magnets? I'm like, no. And it was just like this waste of 2 days of time, but it was a learning experience. I've just made lots of mistakes and how to do things. And so the system is in place so that you can minimize those mistakes, but the mistakes come in honing a skill of kind of reaching out to somebody maybe in a cool market, going to a networking event and being like, oh my gosh, that was really uncomfortable. I didn't really say that well. Or, making mistakes, fumbling through orders at parties, whatever those things are. In order to be growing, you will be making mistakes. You're never going to be a perfect Arbonne consultant. And really, that's not attractive, because if you're always the perfect Arbonne consultant, nobody can relate to that. That's why we use script cards, you guys, is not because we need the cards to communicate all the information, but we're using the cards to tell people that if we can do this, they can do this, and this is how simple this business is. And the fourth reason that people will fail in this business is that they aren't hungry enough. So ask yourself, how hungry are you for this business? Are you willing to do whatever it takes for as long as it takes to have what you really want? And if you're not, what do you need to do to get that hungry? Or what expectation do you need to adjust? Because you don't promote in this business by default. You don't promote in this business because you've just been around long enough. You don't promote in this business because you just really like the products. You promote in this business because you have a drive and a hunger to help other people. And in helping other people, you in turn get what you want. It's a Zig Ziglar principle of when we help enough other people get what they want, we in turn get what we want. It's called servant leadership. Okay, and so that's what this business is. So you have to get hungry for it. You have to get a vision for it. And that leads into really chapter 2 of why are you here? So I want to go just kind of to circle back on those 4 reasons that people fail. And she said, wow, why you aren't going to is knowing that if these are the 4 reasons that people fail, then we just work to not do those 4 things. So, they fail because they're not coachable. So the solution is be coachable. Get on the calls, listen to the trainings, do what those who have been successful. If you're like, Missy, you're awesome, but I want somebody more successful than you. I want somebody who's done more than you, who has achieved more. They are out there by the hundreds. In Maui, there was just over 300 MVPs that have done incredible things. Follow them on Instagram, listen to their SoundClouds, do what they're doing. Be coachable in that way. Don't just listen to the information, but apply it. People fail because they don't treat it like a business. Solution, treat it like a business. Commit 10 to 15 hours a week. Put it on your calendar. Have a no matter what attitude that you're going to get in front of 30 to 40 people a month. If you had to write out a business plan because you were going to a bank and you were taking out a $50,000 loan because you wanted to open up a photography studio or a salon or a boutique, and they said, how much traffic do you need into your store every month in order to be successful? And you said, really probably I need about 300 people. You would put a marketing plan together in order to yield 300 people coming into your store. Our marketing plan is we need to get in front of 30 to 40 people every month. So how do we do that? How do you do that? How are you going to do that with your time, with your resources, with your network, with your the people, with your skills and your capacities? How are you going to do that? Some of you are going to do that much more with groups. Some of you are going to do it maybe much more with Zooms. Some of you are maybe going to do that much more coffees. Some of you are going to maybe have more of an equal balance. It doesn't matter. Just the plan is to get in front and treat this like a business and get in front of those 30 to 40 people. The third is people aren't willing to get uncomfortable. Solution, be willing to get uncomfortable. Be willing to do things you haven't done before. Be willing to put yourself out there. Be willing to stretch. Be willing to ask for help if asking for help makes you uncomfortable. Be willing to say, that's a great question. I don't really know. If you're somebody that always wants to become prepared and know all the answers, you're not getting uncomfortable. So you've got to get uncomfortable. If you're like, I don't really like to ask people to host, be willing to get uncomfortable. I don't really like to ask people to join my team. Be willing to get uncomfortable, you guys. That's where the magic happens. That's where this is going to grow for you. And the last thing people fail is because they're not hungry enough. Solution, get hungry. Figure out what you want. Why do you want it? And then keep asking yourself, why? Why do you want that? So that really segues into the why are you here? So she talks a lot about in chapter 2, your why has to be big enough to keep you consistently showing up for your business week after week, month after month. And I believe, I don't think I wrote it down. But she just really talked about that if you ever find yourself lacking motivation for your business, it's tied to your why. So if you ever find yourself like, I know I should be doing what I need to be doing, but I'm not doing it. I'd rather go hang out with my friends or watch TV or take a nap or avoid or whatever. It's just simply a reflection. What that lack of motivation is simply a reflection that your why isn't big enough and your why isn't clear enough. So on page 25 of the book, I don't know where it would be if you were listening in Audible, but she just talks about this vicious cycle, and I'm going to read it to you. So she said, there are so many things vying for your time in life and attention that if you don't really want to do this, you won't. It will never be a priority, and you'll stay stuck in an endless vicious cycle. You'll stay stuck in an endless vicious cycle. You're not working your business because it's not tied to something you really want. You're beating yourself up because you're not working your business. You're not working your business because now it's all about guilt and failure because you're beating yourself up for not working your business. It's neither fun nor lucrative. In fact, it makes me exhausted just writing about it. And I love that. And I can tell you guys, because I hope you know that you know this about me, I have experienced that. I have so experienced that there have been seasons in my business. They haven't been really in the last several years, probably 4 years, and I'm grateful for that, 4 or 5 years. But earlier in my business, there was definitely this cycle of our bun just felt really guilt-ridden, and I felt like, I know I have to do it. I know I need to be doing it, but I feel like I'm failing all the time. And it was just it was exactly what she's writing about. And I didn't really realize how much of it was tied to the why. I didn't really have a clear why. I had general whys. I had generalities of I want more time, I want more choices, I want more money, but it wasn't this really specific thing. If you can't see it, smell it, taste it, if it doesn't move you deep in your soul, then I promise you that your why is not big enough to keep you committed, to keep your hand consistently to your business. So I want you to write down my why, and you don't need to write down what your why is, but I want you to write down my why. And then I want you to say underneath it, I want you to write down, can I see it? What does it look like? What does your why look like? What does it really look like? Can you smell it? How many of us think about the smell of our why? For me, right now in this season of my business, my why, a chunk of my why smells like a brand new newborn baby that I want to eat because they smell so amazing when they're first born. And if you've never smelled a newborn baby, I can tell you it's the most amazing smell. But for me, when that next promotion comes, it's not that I wouldn't have a baby without becoming a national vice president, but becoming a national vice president will create just more finances, more choices, more time for my family to welcome more kiddos. And so my promotion to national vice president actually smells in part like a new baby. It also smells like a new bathroom. So what does your why smell like? Also, what does it taste like? When you have your next promotion, it's not just about what will you be eating, but what will you be enjoying? What will you be choosing? Really drill down to that point. And we hear you have to have a why that makes you cry. And she and I both have a similar feeling on that of like, there's lots of things that can make me cry. Like I can watch a sad movie. I can watch a Hallmark movie. I can listen to a song. It might make me cry, but it's not necessarily going to change my action, my behavior. So we have to get our why connected emotionally to us to the point that it's going to change our behavior and put us in a consistent pattern of disciplined activity. Okay, so your why has to be about you and you first. And that's hard for us many times as women. We think that, oh, I want to help other people, or I want to, all of these things, but we have to first start with us. It's kind of like you got to put the oxygen on yourself first before you can help other people. And so you really have to be drilling into, why do you want to do this? Because I'm going to guess that your situation might be similar to mine in that if I said, I just don't want to do Arbonne anymore, there's nobody that's going to say, yeah, you really need to do it. Like they wouldn't come hammer me to do it. They wouldn't put pressure on me to do it. They might say like, oh, I think you're walking away from something really amazing because of fear or failure or whatever. But, there's nobody that would put an external pressure on me to keep doing this business. If I said, I feel like I'm supposed to move on to something else, or I don't want to do it or whatever. And so because of that, my why can't be initially about other people. It has to start with me. It has to be about what do I want? What do I want to create? What do I want to achieve? So it has to be about you first. I loved when she said, breakthrough in this business often comes if you can discover a new, more powerful why. Every why that you have is going to take you to the next level. So when you start this business as a consultant, you have a why. And if you've been in this business longer than 90 days and you haven't reached that first goal, initial goal that you had, maybe that's district manager or area manager, then I'm going to really submit to you, you need to dig a little deeper on the why. Because the current why that you have isn't connecting with you enough to propel you to make this a priority, treat it like a business, get uncomfortable, be coachable. So you have to drill a little farther down into this why, get a little more clear on it so that it can help really push you to district manager. Once you become a district manager, you need a new why. You need a new why that's going to take you to area manager. Once you become an area manager, now you need another new why. And that's going to be the one that pushes you to RVP. Once you become a regional vice president, you need another why to push you to MVP. And then here's the awesome thing. Once you become an MVP, you need another why to keep promoting MVPs if you want to keep growing. If you don't, it's totally fine. But when people flatline in their business, or they kind of stay where they are for maybe longer than they were saying that they want to, or things like that, and I can speak, again, from personal experience, it's because the why either doesn't change or it's not clear enough to really drive the change in activity and behavior. Because if we keep doing what we've been doing, we're going to keep getting what we've been getting. So if you want different, we have to do different. And a bigger, clearer, deeper why is what propels us to do different. So I loved that statement that she shared because it was so encouraging about just that breakthrough comes when we can discover a new, more powerful why. And she said, I think one of the biggest reasons many people can't find their real why The one that makes them get uncomfortable, stretch, grow, and consistently show up is because they simply don't dig deep enough. So peel the onion. Peel the onion. So write down, I think, a good activity to do, and she has this listed on page 40 of the book. It's an action, get in action, and she talks about getting out a notebook or a journal and writing your why, then asking yourself, why is it important? Get specific. If you don't achieve your why, what will it look like? But just continue to peel that onion, you know, and I think about where she talks about just keep asking yourself, why is that? You know, it's like, for me, I want to become a national vice president because when I feel called to that, well, why is that? Because when I said yes to this business, it was never about achieving a title or a goal. It was always because it would create choices for us to be involved in missions and really impact people. And so if we don't promote to that, my choices are limited. Well, why is that? Because God put a desire in my heart when I was 15 years old to love other countries and other people and want to be involved in missions. Like, why, you know, just keep drilling down. That's one of the whys that I have to move me from RVP to MVP, because you guys, as an RVP, I get paid really well. I wouldn't have to go any farther than I am. Like, I make more money right now than I ever would with my degree and my education if I went and tried to get a full-time job. I make twice what I would go make if I tried to go get a job right now. So the money isn't what's motivating me to get to the next level. What's getting me motivated to get to that next level are these bigger whys, that where the money that comes in isn't just for my family. It's for the other people. It's for you all. It's for the missions that we want to impact. It's for the more children I want to have. It's for, you know, those are the things that get you past where you are. So keep peeling that onion, and really spend some time on this, you guys. There's not a better time than January to get a vision for where do you want to be in December? Where do you want to be? And you just get to decide. We all get to decide. And I know that sometimes we can feel like, well, do we really? And I do believe that, yes, we do. We do get to decide that we can set a goal, we can set an intention, and we can really, you know, put our hand to it and just give our very best to moving in that direction. So goal setting is good. She has a good part about that. I would recommend to read it, review it, really chew on it, and think about this year. You know, how badly do you want your goals? How badly do you want to become a VP? I have a big vision for this year, for 2018. I feel like there's a lot of purpose in this year, and this is a year for me that I don't believe we as a team are just going to promote to the next level and become a nation, but I actually believe that this is a year where there's going to be lots of VPs, and it's going to almost have this all of a sudden growth to it. And it's not going to be necessarily an all of a sudden like this overnight success. It will appear that way, I believe, but I know that that's not what it is, because we've been planting seeds, we've been faithful, we've been keeping our hand to it. But I believe that this year for this team, that those of you that want to become a VP, that want to grow to that next level, or those next 2 levels, or the next 3 levels, you absolutely can do that. Dr. Deanna, who's our executive national vice president above Linda, she started the year she promoted to national vice president. She started that January as an area manager. She's not special. She doesn't have some magical fairy dust that only got assigned to her. She's not the only person in Arbonne who's ever grown like that. But she's somebody we know. She's somebody that's personal. She had little people in her life at the time. She was working still more than part-time as a physician in a clinic that she owned. And she was able to do that. That was the growth that was kind of that all of a sudden growth that happened. So just thinking about, what do you want? How bad do you really want it? And then spending some time working through that, get an action on page 40. Because she says not only to go through that, activity of writing out your why and getting really clear on it, but then to read it every day for 3 weeks. She said, I found it really helpful to read it first thing in the morning, even before my feet hit the floor, to set my intention for the day. You may decide to do it before you go to sleep. It doesn't matter when you do it, as long as you do it every day for 21 days, because it starts to create patterns in your brain, and your brain will start to figure out the hows. That's why we talk about, yes, we have a system. Yes, it's simple. The hows are there. The hows are in place, but you will start to live in this place. You'll operate your business in a no matter what, I'll figure it out, kind of get the how done when the why is clear enough. When that is clear enough, when it is deep enough, when it's connected to you enough on an emotional level, all of those other things start to present themselves. You start to get ideas. You start to work much more with an intention of focus. You're not necessarily working with more time. You're just working more purposeful. You're working smarter, not necessarily harder, because what you're working toward is so laser beam focused. So that's what I wanted to share tonight. I'm happy if you guys want to unmute and either contribute anything that you found to be really helpful from chapter 1 or 2, or if there's any places where you had questions on any of the things that we went over tonight.
Missy, I had a quick question for
Yeah.
you. When we talked about the buckets, I guess, what are your thoughts on, obviously most of us have some people that signed up initially, thought they were going to build a business, and then they decide just that they want to be product users. If we come to them asking, for referrals, or, okay, you love the products, you decided not to build a business, is it appropriate for us to ask them, and with the intention of signing them direct to us? If we reach out to, say, they give us 5 names, and one of those sign up, should we assume, or I guess, how do you approach that conversation of, do you sign them up under them? Because that changes their thought on, oh, I'm going to get some income from them, or do we just assume that we can sign them direct to us? Because I've thought about going back to those folks and asking, but how do I approach that without seeming like, oh, well, you're not going to do it, so I want to meet your people and send them up under me. It's not about that. I'm fine with them signing up, but how do you approach that, or how do you say that?
So I think what I have done over the years, because I've had lots of those people, is I just let them know, you could use very simple verbiage like this, that you would just say, I'm really excited about, like, hey, Ashley, it's Missy, I'm really excited about 2018. I've got some pretty big goals that I'm committed to. And the big one is really growing to becoming a VP this year. And so I'm really just looking to naturally network out in my market and continue to share the products and the business. I know that it's not a fit for you right now, and that's totally fine. But for everybody, or for anybody who gives me, 3 viable referrals with name, phone number, that I can be reaching out to them, they're actually going to go in a drawing. Like, one of the things I've been thinking about, this is an idea, is doing like a drawing every 90 days for anybody who gives me 3 referrals. And not only does that person go in for the drawing, but all of their referrals go in for the drawing. And the drawing is going to be like a Kendra Scott necklace, or a pair of earrings, or a Kate Spade bag, like something nice, but something that I'm probably not going to have to spend much more than $50 on. But every 90 days, my idea would be that I would get enough people that it would absolutely be worth. I mean, if you get 50 names, it's like, I'm paying $1 a name. That's totally worth it. So I would let them know I want to really, thank people for giving me referrals. So you're going to get entered to win. I'm going to do a drawing for a Kendra Scott piece of jewelry, and asking them that. And then just having that conversation and saying, you don't even have to have it initially, but once people try the products, or they want to place an ASVP, or they want to sign up, I would go back to Ashley and say, hey, Ashley, I just had a conversation with your friend Abby, and she really wants to do the 30 days to healthy living. So there's a couple options. One is, we can get her signed up to you. I don't know if that's anything that you want to look at, is kind of servicing clients. If we do sign people up to you, I really, part of the agreement, with Arbonne, is that they would service their clients, because you don't want to be signing up a lot of people under these other consultants if you're going to be doing the work anyways and servicing them.
Right.
Because there is kind of a fine line, but there's also this place of, if it's somebody that you're going to keep having a relationship with, one day you would love them in your business, like my sister or my sister-in-law or a best friend. You're like, I know they haven't caught the vision yet, but one day they will. Or like, you know, with Edie, with her mom, like she totally wants her mom in this business. It's up to her mom if she's going to want to do that. But if there's common market there, you could just put them under that person. And then if they do or don't ever decide to do anything with it, you're really not out anything. But I would let them know, you know, hey, we can go ahead and sign them up under you and you'll get the commissions. You can keep them in the loop on everything about their, you know, reorders or things like that. Or if you don't want to, I'm more than happy to sign them up to me, and for the referral, I'll not only put you in the drawing, but because they're going to do like an ASVP or they're going to start the business with me, I'm going to send you another little free gift. Because I have had people who have said like, oh, I'm just never going to do this business again. Like, thank you. It was, you know, you're so great and I love the product, but it's not going to be, you should sign them up to you. Like I've had a lot of people say that because they don't want to. And they don't want that kind of expectation or that commitment. So I just leave it up to them and kind of let them decide. And if they say like, oh, I want them signed up to me totally. And then even if they kind of fault out and they don't do the follow-up, I'm still going to do the follow-up. And all you're out is that immediate commission. But if they're a kind of a dead consultant, but they're still bringing in $500 or $1,000 of sales every 60 to 90 days, it's worth it to be in their market. And you never know who that kind of leads to, because if one of those people, say Ashley leads me to Abby and Abby leads me to her sister Sarah, and Sarah becomes my next VP, Sarah becomes direct anyways in the process, and those other two gals just stay consultants or preferred clients, whatever.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. That helps.
Yeah, cool. Awesome. Anybody else have any questions, comments? No. Awesome. All right. Well, thank you all for hopping on. I'm going to stop the recording.